Hello and welcome to this brief video on controlled vocabulary database searching. In this short video I'm hoping to explain to you what controlled vocabularies are, why you might want to think about using them, and also how they differ from the more familiar keyword searching, which is the type of searching that you've probably used in the past, whether or not you've been aware of it. So for example, large search engines such as Google use keyword searching. So if you've ever looked for information, whether it's academic or non-academic, you're likely to have thought of the topic or the research question or the information that you're hoping to find, and then you'll sort of automatically generate a few keywords that describe that particular topic and simply fire them straight into the search engine. Similarly, in plenty of academic databases, especially those within the arts and humanities, there are plenty of keyword searching databases where you would do the same thing. Some of these you might be familiar with already, such as Scopus or Web of Science. And within these databases you would do exactly the same thing. You would think of your topic, so let's say we're looking for information on dementia, Alzheimer's. You would think of a keyword to describe that, and then you would go ahead and run the search and find all of the related documents. And while there's nothing wrong with that type of searching whatsoever, there are a few drawbacks when it comes to conducting a more comprehensive search or a search within particular disciplines. So first of all, keyword searching searches for the exact words that you have entered into the database. And so that means you're relying on the authors or the researchers of all those papers out there that you're hoping to find. You're relying on them having used exactly the same terms and expressed their concepts in exactly the same way. And when you think about all of the different territories across the world where research is conducted and all of the different transliterations from a native language into academic English perhaps, you'll quickly realise that you're actually likely to miss out on quite a lot of relevant results and articles if you rely on just the words that would first occur to you when keyword searching. And so what we're hoping to convince you of is that controlled vocabulary searching, particularly within the medical sciences, is a really, really powerful way of searching the literature and connecting your concepts and finding all of those papers that you might otherwise miss simply relying on keyword searching alone. And plenty of databases make use of controlled vocabularies. These are preset vocabularies of sometimes official diagnoses, jargon or vocabulary within that discipline, but also just definitions of particular words and their relationship to other words within a taxonomy. Now that might sound like a complicated librarian way of explaining things, but once I show you in a database, it will start to make sense a lot more quickly. By way of a very quick example here, if we go with an anatomical example, let's say that you were searching for papers on injuries within the leg. So leg injuries, leg trauma. So you would go ahead and type leg into your database, and in a keyword database, you would only find articles where the author or researcher has used the word leg and nothing else. However, in a controlled vocabulary database, such as Medline, such as PsycInfo, Sceinal, the database will ask you to think more closely, more carefully about the type of words that you're using. So you'll be given the option to include leg in your search, but it also prompts you to think about the different anatomical parts of the leg and whether these are relevant to you or not. So it may be that you want every part of the leg included in your search, from knee down to different parts of the foot, or it may prompt you to think, well, actually, I'm specifically looking for knee injuries or a specific part of the foot. And so it guides you through your search and asks you to think about that relationship a little more carefully. So if I show you what this looks like within a database, I've selected Ovid Medline here. Before we were talking about dementia, Alzheimer's, I would go ahead and enter that term into the search box, and you can see that this box map term to subject heading is already selected, is pre-ticked here. And so when I run that search, it immediately attempts to map my term, dementia, against many different entries in the control vocabulary and asks me to think about whether these are relevant to me or not. So I can see that there are lots of related entries here, and already I'm thinking, well, do I want to include AIDS dementia complex? Do I want to include vascular dementia? So it's starting to make me think about how I might want to narrow or explode my terms. It also gives me a scope note, which gives me a definition of the term that I've selected, and it may not always be the definition that you think you're using, so it's definitely worth checking out. And it also shows you which other terms you're including if you select that entry. But the next step is to click on the hyperlink itself and examine the relationship between your term and other terms in the subject tree in the taxonomy. So we can see that my term dementia is a narrower term of a narrower entry of brain diseases, but then I can also see that there are more specific examples of dementia that I may want to think about. Now, if I want to include all of these terms, I can explode and include all of these narrower terms or diagnoses in my search, but I can also select from the list the items that I'm interested in. And so in this way, I'm really forced to think about my search and select those terms, those diagnoses that are actually relevant to my search. So for this reason, using a database that employs a controlled vocabulary is really useful for more complex searches, especially for literature reviews, especially for systematic reviews. And we would always recommend that you start with the controlled vocabularies when putting together your search protocol, because it really does help you think about your search string and your search protocol as you're developing it. So some common databases within medical sciences that use controlled vocabularies, you'll find Medline and the Cochrane Library both make use of MESH, which stands for Medical Subject Headings. PsycInfo uses the APA thesaurus, so that's the American Psychological Association, and Embase for Biomedical and Life Sciences makes use of Emtree. All of these will have slightly different variations in their definitions, so it's worth looking at the scope notes and looking at the definitions, and we would also recommend that you search all of these individually so that you don't lose any of the functionality around controlled vocabularies.